Hi, welcome back to another fault analysis workshop where if you've seen a few of these by now you'll know the drill. What we do, we take a picture, we look at a picture, a road scene where your learner's making some kind of mistake, and then we basically just pick the bones out of it. We go through it, we analyse it, we think of remedial action, we think of questions where it'd be asked, where it'd be thinking about the intervention we would have taken at the time. So what you need to do, you need to download your fault analysis worksheet, which I put a little picture up here. There'll be a link in the description below to go and get that. Just make sure it's double-sided. Fill out both sides. And so yeah, so let's just get into it. So what I'd like to cover this week, I'm going to put a picture up now. So let's just talk you through this picture. So let's go. So we've got a crossroads, and we're in the little blue learner car. And we're going to be turning right at the crossroads. Okay, so let's sort of have a look at what else is going on. So the learner has got his signal on. I don't know if you can see that in the picture. So they've got their signal on. There's a motorbike following quite closely behind. There's a van on the near side emerging out of the junction. And oncoming, we've got, we're just going past the bus that is just pulling out of the bus stop. And behind the bus is a little green and yellow cyclist. So here's a cyclist with a purple car behind him. And just to remind you, we're turning right. So have a look at the picture. And now your job from that is to identify what is the fault. So if you were a driving examiner and you were marking that, what would be, how would you record that on a DL25? So if you're not sure what a DL25 is, I'll put a link in the description below so you can get access to a DL25. That's the sheet that the examiners use to mark the tests with. So I'm just making sure that is recording. Yeah, good. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. I've got the dog just behind me and he's just like looking at me. So yeah, so we're recording. So yeah, DL25 is all about being, the sheet the examiners use to identify faults. To help you identify faults correctly, you can use the examiner's guidance, the DT1, which again I'll put a link in the description. So have a look at that, because that will really help you with correctly identifying faults, which is a really good skill to have when you do your Part 3 test or standards check, and just every day as a driving instructor. Because if the examiners and the instructors are sort of on the same wavelength, then we're going to correctly advise our pupils and diagnose faults correctly. So good. So you've got the tools, you've got the picture, you've got the DL25, you've got the DT1 to help you. So what I'm going to get you to do now is just pause the video, go away, fill out your sheet, and then we'll meet back here in a minute, and then we'll go through the sheet. So welcome back. So I've been busy filling out my sheet too while we've been away. So yeah, so let's start at the top. So we want to correctly identify the fault using the DL25. So this fault is going to go in section 17, response to road signs and signals, specifically road markings. So we've got the fault in response to signs and road markings. Is it a driver fault? Is it a serious fault, or is it dangerous? So based on the situation here, I would actually put that as dangerous because of what's happening on the other side of the road oncoming. Okay. If it was just a case of them crossing the solid white lines, serious. It's an offence, they've broken the law, so that would be a serious fault. But yeah, it's what's happening on the other side of the road that's going to hike that up to a dangerous for me. Okay, so the next box is to draw it. Well, obviously you don't need to because the picture's been provided, but when you're analysing faults for your learner, it's always a good idea to use some kind of visual aid, whether you use a road pad app or just pen and paper, or you've got some visual presentation, but just so you can set the scene and recreate the detail to help you properly analyse it, as we're going to do now. So let's think about the risks. So the risk here, so we're in the risk section. The risk here is head-on collision. Head-on collision equals obviously serious injury, possible death. So this is a possible fatal for this fault. So hence why I've put this as dangerous, because we could be coming into conflict with that purple car on the other side. The purple car goes for the overtake on the cyclist. We could have an issue there. Remember that bus is pulling out, so things are going to start moving potentially onto our side of the road. So that's where I would put that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that purple car and the cyclist in a little while, because we need to explore. There's lots to explore in this picture. There's a lot going on. Okay, so intervention. We're on the intervention box now. What would I be doing if I was the instructor, examiner in the car at that point? Well, I would not allow my pupil to go over that solid line. So as soon as they start to make the move for it, my hand, it would be physical intervention. My hand would be on that steering wheel to keep them on where they should be, not crossing the white lines. Now, you do need to be aware of your surroundings. Now, this is why your intervention needs to be appropriate and well timed, because if the bike's coming up the near side and you pull the learner back, we don't want to come into conflict with there. So the timing is essential, that we don't let this fault escalate into danger. You know, we don't want to be having a crash, obviously. So yeah, so that's the intervention. So it would be physical, it would be steering. Definitely not the brake in this situation. Okay, so let's switch over to the analysis section. Now here we're going to, just make sure that is still recording. Here we're going to look at the analysis. This is the reasons why your pupil did what they did. So the list here is endless, because we need to get inside our pupil's head and find out why they did that. So I'm going to just go through some of the suggested ones that I've got, and this isn't an exhaustive list. You'll probably have more than this. So number one, I put that the pupil's unaware of the road markings, didn't see them. So as far as they're concerned, they haven't done anything wrong. They just wasn't aware of the road markings. Pupil was aware of the road markings, but just lacked understanding. Yeah, they saw solid lines, but they thought, well, I didn't know I didn't know that. I didn't know I couldn't go over them. So they just didn't know the rules. Lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. Number three, thought it was an emergency. So they knew the rules. They knew that they could go in there in the event of emergency. And they thought the bike behind was an emergency. They thought, oh, look, he wants to come through. I'm going to move into the solid, over the solid line. Number four, trying to be helpful, considerate. So they knew the bike was by, and they thought, you know, I'm going to help this guy. I'm going to move over and let him come through. So there's a few suggestions for the analysis, and I'm sure you've got more. Okay, so I said I'd come back to the cyclist, didn't I? So let's just look at this picture. So we've kind of gone through some of the reasons there. So our learners, you know, may be moving over to that they're aware of the motorcyclist behind, and the motorcyclist will now pass on the near side. Now, if we look at the other side of the road, where we've got the yellow and green cyclist with the purple car and the bus moving out, question, is it legal for that purple car to overtake the cyclist there? Not safe, not asking if it's safe. Is it legal for him to overtake there? Look at the road markings. So we've got solid road markings. Can he overtake legally a cyclist? So this is going to delve into your knowledge of the highway code and what the exceptions are to when you can overtake or cross solid lines. So do you know them? If you don't, maybe just go away now and have a look. But for the sake of this video, let's provide you with the answer. So you can overtake or cross solid lines in the event of emergency, as we've already discussed. You can overtake on them if you're overtaking a cyclist travelling less than 10 miles an hour, horses being ridden less than 10 miles an hour, and road maintenance vehicles, so something like a tractor cutting the hedge, a road sweeper. And what makes it a road maintenance vehicle. What does that legally need to be displayed to make it a road maintenance vehicle? So that's another question. So now we're digging deeper into that knowledge. So it needs a flashing amber light on, and it needs the round sign, blue, with the arrow, and an order sign to pass. So if you see that sign on the back of a vehicle, that's an order to pass, but obviously you have to judge whether it's safe. So you can overtake on a solid line if it's doing less than 10 miles an hour, the lights are on, the sign's displayed. The exception to that is bin lorries, they won't show the sign, but would you overtake a bin lorry with the men out and the flashing light on? Because that's when the flashing light should be on, when the men are collecting the bins. Would you overtake there where they're going to be stepping out? You can, but with caution. Okay, good. So that sort of goes into the knowledge. And we also need to go back to this picture, because think about the cyclist. What is the cyclist looking at? He's looking at a bus pulling out in front of him. What is he going to do? He's probably going to start moving out. What is the purple car behind doing all at the same time? So this is why this goes to dangerous, because this situation where the learners put themselves in that hatched area, this could go wrong quite quickly and be that head-on collision, the fatal. We need to explore with our people, how they're going to recognise the dangers of this junction. So we've got road markings, we've got signs. There would have been signs on approach. There would have probably been a reduced speed limit or lots of warning signs. We can't tell from the picture. But also explore your people, the other details, the other things that they might not notice, the things that you notice as an experienced driver, as an instructor, that tell you this is a dangerous junction. So yeah, there's more paint, there's more signs, more danger, more risk, but also think about the skid marks on approach to that junction that you'll see or seen on these high risk accident sites. Think about the shattered glass that you see in the central reservation, in the hatched area or in the gutter, the bits of car debris, the shattered number plates, and all the stuff that there's been collisions there. What about the flowers at the telegraph pole or the lamppost, and the shrines that you have at these high risk sites? So these are things that you probably notice, but your learner doesn't. And there's no shame in going through this with your pupil, because I think back to when I was 17, 18, I don't think I was thinking of that. I don't think I was even noticing the signs. So, people do die on the roads every year. This is a high-risk accident site. There's a lesson to be learned here. We can help our people deal with this and sort of open them up a little bit more. Okay, let's get back to the form. Let's look at the remedial action. So from the remedial action bit, we're going to pick one of those reasons and then sort of think how we're going to fix it. So the reason I picked is my fourth one, that the pupil was being kind, that they wanted to let the motorcycle pass. So that's why they did it. So now we need to think about how we're going to remedy this. So I would be wanting to talk to my pupil and sort of revise their knowledge of road markings and what it all means, what the solid lines mean. I'd want to explore why these road markings were at this junction. So what we've just been talking about. Why is this junction such a high risk accident site? And we would look at the picture and we would create what we just talked about, the purple car, the cyclist, the bus, how things can develop very quickly. So I'd want to be talking to my people about that, making them aware. Once we've explained and we've had a chat about it and debriefed on it, then the practical element, I'd want to get out on the road practicing. So the things I'd want to go out and do is look at their awareness, anticipation, planning skills. Maybe offer a commentary, so we could drive, because obviously this pupil is at a stage where they can deal with these sort of busy junctions and high risk sites, fast moving roads, but we want to help them be more aware of road marking signs, awareness, anticipating what the purple car might do, anticipating the bus was there. So all of these clues would have been coming up to this junction. That's what I'd want to work on, those skills of awareness, anticipation, planning, hazard perception. like I say, I'd offer to help them with the commentary and maybe pass commentary over to them as they get more proficient at spotting these hazards. So it'd be like, a bit like a hazard perception lesson where they watch the videos and they're sort of clicking to spot the hazards. But now we're taking them onto a live road. I'd assist and then hand over responsibility as we're going through, so they can take more of the responsibility. They can identify the hazards. They can tell me what they're anticipating. They can tell me what they're planning to do. And we'll do that all in good time to prevent situations like the one in the picture. Still recording. Good. So that's what I'd be doing. Questions, the final box. I'm just going to be looking at the questions. So yeah, so this is after the event. We've pulled up somewhere safe. We're going to have a little chat about what's just happened. And we're trying to get into what we've already talked about. So I'm just going to try and open up my pupil to get them talking. So the first thing I'd say is, do you understand why I took control of the steering there? See what they say. Can you tell me what the solid white lines in the centre of the road mean? Use a picture, ask them that question. Why do you think they're there? So what we've already discussed. Why do you think they put those road markers at this junction? What are the hazards? What are the hazards? So yes, and another question, can you tell me 3 potential dangers of crossing the line? So now they can do a bit of hazard perception, can't they? So I could look at the picture, I could draw other things on it, create other scenarios, just to get them thinking about this scenario and the possible dangers and the risks. And that would be my line of question, to sort of open them up and get them talking about this situation. And so they fully understand why I took action and the risks that were involved, so they're taking ownership and they understand, and they need to understand this situation. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching as always. If you'd like to if you liked it, like it, give it a thumbs up. If you want future content, subscribe to the channel, because I'm doing one of these every week through lockdown. And please comment about what sort of things you'd like me to cover next, any questions you've got. If you disagree, put it up there. It's good, because we're all learning together. And if I can be of help, if I can help you pass your part 2, you pass that, pass your part 3, standards check later, then I'm glad to be of help. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.